Good morning, Dr. Wesley. Nice meeting you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm so glad that you are here, and I'm excited to work with you. And I want to give you kudos because the first step in realizing that you need some help and support is realizing that, taking the first step and acknowledging that. So I'm glad that you are here today. I'm glad that you are excited to take counseling. So this is the intake process. We're just going to go over the assessment that I had sent you. I emailed that to you, the intake assessment form, the personal questions, and also I want to go over some rules and regulations, and also I want to start with my professional disclosure statement.
Okay.
So this is my professional disclosure statement.
Okay.
So this is basically saying that what we share is confidential, letting you know that we will be working on we will be having 60-minute sessions at your discretion.
Okay.
Normally when I work with my clients, we meet on a weekly basis.
Okay.
And then from there, depending on how I see the treatment is going and the particular plan, then we'll figure out if it's going to be continue weekly or bi-weekly. But first, I meet with my clients on a weekly basis.
Okay.
Also, it has my rate in there as well.
Okay.
And it has the 60, it's letting you know the 60-minute 60-minute sessions. Now, also, when we meet, it's completely confidential. What you share to me is between you and I. I will only share that, and I will only share that with someone else if you plan to harm yourself or others, because we do have to protect each other, and I don't want you to harm yourself, and that's the only time that I'll have to share something out, if you have that intent of harming yourself or harming other people.
Okay, so who would you call?
So I would, depending on what you say to me, it might have to be a medical professional. We might need to look into some additional clinical treatment, but I am here to help you. So I just want you to be completely comfortable and share information with me, and trust me, it's not going to go anywhere else. But first, and can you tell me a little bit about why you are receiving treatment? And here's also your questionnaire if you need that.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't know. So, I've done the right thing. I feel like all my life I've gone to school, I've done what they say do, right? But I've also had like a little bit of anxiety throughout. I went and got a master's, I went and got another master's, I got a doctorate, and so it's just kind of what else is there to do next? And so I'm always used to doing something, and now I'm trying to figure out, I guess, one, what I need to be doing in life, right? And then two, I have a little bit of anxiety around what that looks like. So just trying to figure out how to deal with my anxiety. No, I'm not depressed or any of that. Just sometimes I can get super anxious in certain situations. And so just trying to figure out how to deal and still be along the right path, if you will.
Understood. Yes, anxiety definitely can be a barrier, but I definitely am here to make sure that we are removing the barriers and trying to find ways to cope through your anxiety. And I just want to ask you a couple of questions, but before I do, I just want to make sure, do you understand everything as far as you are being recorded for this session, and it's used for development processes for class and everything as well, and you do consent to that, correct?
Yes, I consent to that.
All right, and thank you for signing the form.
No problem.
So walk me through your anxiety. What do you think triggers your anxiety? Because I know you mentioned that you graduated school, you even achieved your doctorate, which is amazing, by the way, and you kind of feel like, what's next? What do you think is your trigger as far as your anxiety is concerned?
Just how when people say, oh my God, what's next for you? The question, maybe what's next, or when people ask, because I think sometimes it can be the people that trigger us versus us ourselves, right?
Yeah.
And so sometimes it could be that particular question, or when you're sitting in a room and people may ask, well, where do you see yourself in 3 years? And it's whoa, I don't know. Let me get past this today or this month, or whatever. Let me not think 3 years ahead or 5 years ahead, because those things cause me anxiety. So just trying to maybe focus on being in the moment. Sometimes it's hard to do that, right? I have a family. I have an older mom. My grandmother's still living, so it's kind of hard to make sure that, you know, my anxiety is not going up because of all of these other things that I still have to take care of, right? So.
Exactly, understandable, and I thank you for sharing that with me. So you have a lot of outside stressors, and you're trying to figure out how to balance catering to and also attending to those outside stressors, but also taking time out for Dr. Wesley and realizing, okay, there's still more life to live, and what's next for me. So I'm glad that you mentioned that, and I just want to let you know that, so even if I don't make eye contact with you, I'm writing notes, but I am still listening. I'm still actively listening.
Thank you for that.
Yes, ma'am. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Who is Dr. Wesley? What is something important that I need to know? Because we are building this client-counselor relationship, and I want to make sure that I know, you know, when you're comfortable, uncomfortable, and I need to know a little bit more about you so I can better assist you. And I can tell you a little bit about myself as well.
Okay. Let's see. Who am I? I am a 43-year-old African American female.
Okay.
That loves family.
Okay.
I love going to church.
Okay.
And yes, like physically going to church, but then also like having my own time to do praise and worship, or to be in a space where, you know, I'm praying or stuff like that. So I consider that, like, that's why I put air quotes with church. Because you can kind of have church anywhere, right? You know?
Yes.
So it doesn't have to always be in that physical space. I love, let's see, what else do I love? Or what else should I tell you about myself, rather? I just love, like, the simple things. Like, I'm not one of those people that has to be, like, all over the place. I don't need a lot of attention. I'm a hard worker.
Okay.
I'm very dedicated and passionate to whatever undertaking I'm doing.
Okay.
So whatever it is, like if somebody's calling me, and that can be a gift and a curse, right?
Right.
So people can call me all the time, and I can do something, and then it's like, wait a minute, you taking advantage. Cause you were, you know, so have to go back to the accountability piece for them. It's like, wait a minute, no, this is something you can do.
Gotcha.
So that becomes kind of a trigger, if you will, for me, because once I realize like you kind of taking advantage, or I'm doing instead of you're doing, then we have a problem. I don't really have like a quick temper or anything like that. For the most part, I'm pretty calm. Now, I will say that I think I get upset, you have really like done it.
Gotcha.
And it takes a long time for me to get there.
Slow to anger.
Yeah, very slow. Like, probably, yeah, very slow to anger. But when I get there, like, don't ever talk to me again. Like, yeah, I'm done. Like,
gotcha.
Yeah, and I don't think it's, you know, my mom is sometimes like, or other people are sometimes like, oh my God, you need to like, and I'm like, no, because I gave you plenty years of opportunity not to do anything. You chose to continue, so I don't have nothing to say.
Gotcha.
So that's probably one of the things, and it's, you know, from a faith base, it's like, okay, I have forgiven you, but I don't have to ever talk to you again. I don't have to ever see you. I don't have to ever. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's wrong. And I'm like, no. Just
you're protecting your peace and you're setting your boundaries.
Right. And boundary setting is really big, right? And sometimes it's hard to do that initially, right? Especially when you have other factors going, but
gotcha.
Yeah. I'm a very giving person.
Okay.
Time, whatever, like you name it, I'm pretty much giving.
And I do have a question. How often do you give back to yourself?
So that's some of the problem, right?
That's a problem. Okay.
Yeah, that's a problem. I don't know. Trying to figure out how to do that.
Okay.
Especially in this stage of life.
So we need to work on, that's one thing that we're going to work through, trying to make time out for Dr. Wesley.
Okay.
And how often do you, let's just say you have done you're done helping everybody for the day and you want to relax. What do you do to relax?
I probably will be falling asleep.
Okay, sleep. Okay.
Right, and it's like, oh, now that I'm sitting down because I'm so exhausted and I'm asleep, versus, oh, let me take a hot bath or a hot shower, and all of those things. Now I used to go to the farmer's market. I like to go to the farmer's market and get different like fruits and vegetables and stuff like that. And they have a section like in the plant section, like with eucalyptus.
Mm-hmm.
So I would buy eucalyptus and tie a string around it and like put it in the shower and just kind of like let the shower steam up. And that's one of the things, like forms of self-care. But I haven't really done that in a while. So you're reminding me like I need to go to the market once I finish with this.
Yes, absolutely.
And do that.
Absolutely. So, and thank you so much for sharing that information with me as well. And I wanted to, I didn't mention this earlier, but my approach in counseling, I love the integrated model approach. So basically, I'll consider all things, ethically, morally correct, but also I'll take into consideration if unique and different approaches. So by me working with you, I will determine like what's the best form of treatment for you, so you can get the best care that you need.
I appreciate that, because a lot of people try to focus on like just one, and it doesn't really work that way. And a lot of people are always like, I'm super solution focused, right? And it's like, well, sometimes other factors prevent you from getting to that one solution. So I appreciate the fact that you said that. That makes me feel very comfortable knowing that you will look at me in my entirety and all of the things that come with me to help treat me. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want to ask you a little bit of background about your family.
Okay.
Has anyone in your family that you know of ever taken counseling before?
No.
Okay.
I'm thinking. In my immediate family, or like, yeah, like no, my husband and I went to counseling.
Okay.
Like before we got married,
Mm-hmm.
And then he went to counseling, but
Gotcha. Like mom, dad, or anyone? Okay. Would you say that counseling was widely received in your family, or so to speak? Did people acknowledge counseling?
No.
Okay.
I wouldn't say so. I don't think it was anything that was really talked about, to be honest with you. Like from we going to church.
Yeah.
Like we going to church. Like church is gonna do it. It's like, church is not do it.
Right.
When I was younger, I got in trouble and my mom took me to a counselor. But it was an older white guy. And I'm like, what are you gonna tell me? So, I mean, culturally, the demographic was off. So at a young age, I wasn't gonna be talking to him. Like about what? How can you relate?
Gotcha.
He don't look like me. He old, like 40 years my senior. Like, what is he gonna tell me that I can relate to in ninth grade or whatever grade it was I was in? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I definitely understand that, because I'm also and I was grown. I'm a pastor's kid, so growing up in church, I understand church is like the end all be all. But having a similar background, cultural backgrounds, we know how sometimes counseling wasn't widely accepted.
Right.
What happens in this house stays in this house.
Right.
This is our business. Don't nobody tell. So I wanted to ask you that, because I wasn't sure if that in your particular household, if counseling was like recognized and accepted.
I can't even remember like anybody extended family or like outside of our family that that went to counseling. Like I remember having like my mom was from is from DC.
Okay.
And I remember having my dad, so background wise, my dad, my parents divorced. They were married, they divorced. My dad got remarried.
Okay.
Let me know if you need to slow down.
You're good. I'm
That's
listening.
what I'm about to tell you. You're gonna be like, wait a minute now. Okay, so my parents are married.
Okay.
You have like God families.
Correct.
Right. So my parents are married. My parents got divorced because my dad had an affair with my god sister, and they got married.
Okay, say that one more time.
Right. Right. So my parents are married.
Okay.
My mother left my father because he was sleeping with my god sister.
Okay.
Okay. Then my god sister and my dad got married.
Okay.
It's like a whole genogram. I probably should have been drawing a family tree, right?
Okay.
So my my god sister and my dad got married, and then they had a kid. So I have a sister out of that space.
Gotcha.
But my god sister's brother was on drugs,
Okay.
right? And so from a counseling space, they used to be like, "Oh, he's just sick, and we're going to visit him." But he was like in a like what I know now, it was a transitional facility. And I was like, this don't look like no regular house. You know, so like from background, it's like people never really talked about, you know, like drug abuse and counseling, or counseling was kind of in a negative light, always kind of attached to drug abuse, right?
Right.
So I never really knew what it was.
Wow. Okay. And that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
And I
didn't mean to.
No, that's good that you're sharing that with me. I just can only imagine if that were me, you know, how that would feel. And at what age did your parents
Get divorced?
Get divorced?
I was 2.
2 years old, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then they got remarried, or he married my god sister when I was 5.
You were 5, okay.
So it's a lot of dynamics to that, right?
Yes. And
so when I told you earlier that I don't talk to people because, yeah, she wronged my mom, but she treated me differently. And as an adult, I'm like, now how you gonna treat me differently? You was the one in the wrong.
right.
So
Wow.
when I'm done, I'm done. And
Gotcha.
it's okay.
Now, would you say that in your family, from what you know of, is there a history of mental health disorders?
In my family, for like on my mom's side, we had my grandfather's brother. So my grandfather's brother was bipolar.
Okay.
So maternal, yeah. So bipolar, and then his son, which would have been my first cousin, was bipolar, and they both are now deceased.
Okay.
So they both were bipolar. Like he's the first person, and we didn't even really talk about him. It was just kind of like, oh, he over there, you know. He was still married to my aunt. My aunt was, you know what? Because my aunt was a social worker.
Okay.
So my aunt was like, I can love you at a distance. She got his own apartment, made it like a little efficiency. She would go take him groceries. All of this is clearly a little dysfunctional. I mean, granted, she was a social worker, but she had to take care of her mental health. And so
Right.
in order to do that and not have her husband in a bad space, like she put him in an apartment and bought him groceries and got his meds, and like that's my first like time I knew about lithium and all that kind of stuff. So it was like, oh well, he's over here, I'm going by, he has his own social worker going by. So it wasn't that was like the norm for them. I know it's a lot, but that was just kind of their norm. They did their thing, and we were like, so they lived in Detroit. And like we would go for the summer, visit my uncle. Hey, Uncle Leon. Like we going to his house, we going to her house, and it was normal. Like that was the norm. Meanwhile, the man is like psychotic. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that was kind of the only person, I think, family wise, or only 2 people, he and his son, that were, that had mental illness. Like on my dad's side, so my mom was my dad's second wife.
Okay.
His first wife, he and his first wife had 2 children.
Okay.
I know this is a lot for like, sorry, but
You are fine. You're fine.
so his second wife, my mom was his second wife. So his first wife, he and his first wife had 2 kids. Or had 2 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So I have an older sister and an older brother.
Okay.
And my older sister, I don't think she's ever been like diagnosed, but she definitely had some mental health challenges.
Gotcha. Do you what's your relationship? Are your parents? I know you were still with your mother is still living. I know you take care of her. Is your dad still living as well?
No, my dad. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm sorry to hear
he
that.
passed away when I was actually pregnant with my daughter.
Okay. Sorry to
So
hear
in
that.
20 something.
Gotcha.
19, 18, somewhere around in there. He passed away when I was pregnant with her.
I'm sorry.
And that was a strained relationship just
I was
because
going to get into that. Okay.
right. So that was a strained relationship. just because of who he was.
Gotcha.
Like, I could tell you all the stories, but we don't have enough time.
Right. No,
And I
you're
don't want
fine.
to, like...
And we're gonna definitely unpack that and work through those things.
Okay.
And I'm just glad that you were even on the first session, the intake session, open. And I want to leave you with the last question. What do you want from me? How can I help you?
Okay.
What's your goal, your end goal for counseling?
I think you can help me by listening. Not being judgmental. Because even though I've shared some, like I haven't shared all, right? And I don't want you to be looking at me crazy or give me a crazy looking side eye or I just want you to be open. And those are things that make me who I am, right? No excuse for any of the things that they did, but they all are experiences that make me who I am. Like, can't take anything away from that, right?
Correct.
Can't change any of that. Those were their actions that had a direct impact on me. But what I did with those things is made them positive, right? For myself. Like, what do I need to do to be better? Because I know this ain't what I want to do. Like, I know I ain't trying to toot powder and all that.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
just too much. Not trying to go to jail, not trying to, you're right. So I think that you can help me by helping me with coping skills.
Okay.
Because even though those things are like happening years ago, like my current issue is just anxiety. And my anxiety may be from all of those things that have led me to now at this point with like me about to go into perimenopause and just all the things happening, like, Lord, what if, you know, that kind of thing. So you can help me with coping skills. You can be a listening ear. You can maybe give me some additional resources, like medical wise for like perimenopause. And I think that's probably it. Like for right now anyway. If some other things come up, I don't mind. I hope you don't mind me, you know, maybe asking for additional resources or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm here to help you. We're going to remove those barriers, and I want to be able to provide solutions for you because life is definitely tough. And one last question. How often, and I couldn't see this from the intake form, but I just want to ask you, have you been medically diagnosed with anxiety? Do you often see your physician? Or are you taking medications for the...
So, I have not been medically diagnosed with anxiety. I just know that I have, you know,
Gotcha.
have it. So for me, because I work in a different space, then I would go to the psychiatrist instead of going to like a physician. And I know it's like a whole stigma against like going to a psychiatrist, but to me, like that's their specialty. So I would go there versus going to, you know, just like a general practitioner. Just give me a little something. But I might need a little bit more something from a psychiatrist. Okay. But no, I haven't. I'll make an appointment. Since you're suggesting it, then maybe I'll make an appointment to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm here to help, you know, with the mental aspect, but it's also good to make sure there's no physical effects that might be happening as well. Because anxiety doesn't just affect the mental; it can trigger physical issues as well. Right. But Dr. Wesley, thank you so much. I am excited to get started working with you, and it's going to be an awesome journey.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and you listening to me and just being open. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.